Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Luke.
And in today's video, very excited to be reviewing Cobra Kai Season 4 on Netflix. Like and subscribe. It helps out the channel quite a lot. And for people that haven't seen Season 3, kind of be spoiling the ending to summarize for Season 4. So basically, not spoiling for Season 4, basically to summarize is that at the end of Season 3, Daniel-san and Johnny make a pact with Cree that they are not going to deal with illegal fights. They're going to settle their terms at the tournament, and then they are going to train for the tournament, and Daniel-san and Johnny with their two dojos, Meragi and Eagle Fang, are going to train together, and that's what we got to look forward to. And we kind of know, well, we hope in our minds that it's going to work out well, but in the back of our minds we kind of go, is it going to work? And how did you hope that was going to play out, Luke?
Well, we believe that we're going to get this epic finale, and then maybe Season 4 may have been the last season, which before it started we'd already found out that wasn't true, that they'd already signed on for another season. So we were hoping that we're going to finally see Johnny and Daniel become friends, combine their two styles, the aggressiveness that Johnny learnt through Cobra Kai and to strike first, but in his new kind of Eagle Fang way, where they play tough, but they play by the rules, which Cobra Kai didn't. And then we've got we've got Daniel, who's more about karate should be only used for defense. It's more about deflecting and using
having balance.
Yeah, and having balance and using your opponent's weaknesses. Like they're attacking us to defend and turn it against them. So I think we're going to see those two, and we're like, finally, it's going to be a cool message that they're going to realize that karate is about balance and both sides, that not one is correct. You need to be able to defend and attack. You can't just rely on defense, especially in a tournament situation. In real life, you don't go around fighting people unless they attack you. So we expect that. They're going to team forces against Creed. But then at the end of the last season, it's implied that he's made a call to an old friend of his, someone that owed him a favor, someone that he helped save in the war.
Vietnam, yeah.
Yeah, and we know who that character is because he's in Karate Kid movies. So we believe he's going to reappear, which we do see. And we'll summarize a bit more of where that leads. But that's what we expect for the season, that's what we're going to get. But in reality, we didn't quite get that. So what did we get for this season? Let's summarize what actually happened opposed to what we expected to happen.
Unfortunately, they have the difference of opinion, and they are so set up in their ways that their bickering gets annoying, and you just want them to get along, but unfortunately, they're just so stubborn that they just can't.
Yeah, so Johnny and Daniel it doesn't last very long, maybe an episode or two before they're already fighting against each other. And it's so clear from the viewer's perspective that they don't need to see that their one way is right and the other way is wrong, that they just need to combine. And even the students start to see that. We get set up with a new character that comes into the show. So it's a young boy who seems to be into, like a Minecraft style game, but they don't call it that. And he's new to this school. His dad we see is
a major in the military.
Yeah, he's in the military. His mum isn't around. Like, she's at work, but we don't physically see her. And he does this. He's kind of like dancing on the street and enjoying his time. He's a really good dancer, actually, but the kids see him and they pick him up on the bus, and from that he becomes the target of
bullying.
Yeah, which is at the hands of Daniel's son.
Anthony, yeah.
Yeah, so he becomes a bully. So the show sets up that they will have this rivalry. The boy, inevitably we find out, is the brother of the enemy that, you know, Johnny's son made in prison. He was a big black gentleman that was good at fighting. That was his enemy. So this is the brother of him. So he gets told by his brother to go ask for a favor and him to help him learn to fight. And from that, he eventually joins Cobra Kai and ultimately becomes the villain in the end, or led up to the next season, which I don't know. I don't like that. I was hoping he was going to be a good character, but instead he's replaces and becomes the villain. So that's one of the story arcs that's introduced to this. And then tell us a bit about the character that Johnny calls up. Sorry, not Johnny. Creed calls up and brings into the helping with the dojo. Tell us about how he comes into it, how he starts, and ultimately how he finishes.
Basically, they served in Vietnam together. He makes him feel guilty because he saved his life. He's quite a rich, successful man, but you never really found out how he became successful. He's quite reluctant at the start, and then he wants to come back, and then eventually he does, and then they have the interesting conversation that everyone has a weakness, and then he says he knows his weakness, Creed's weakness, and then that eventually leads to then what was pretty cool. And his arc, the show has kind of a trend with people's arcs, what I'll say in the spoilers discussion, but yeah, it was pretty cool to see what happened with it.
Yeah, so they bring him in because in the movies he was a bit of a psychopath, and he treated Daniel real poorly, and they set him up to be, you know, he's reformed, he's a good guy, he's a wealthy man now, he doesn't need to live this life. But then ultimately he gets dragged back in, but still wants to play by the book, which we'll talk about later. That changes and flips, and it's kind of the thing that I think ruins the season. Yeah. Not to say it was a bad season. It was just, you know, it could have been approached differently. Other story arcs that follow through, you know, they try and make us feel sorry for... having a name blank, but the female fighter from Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
You know, we're made to hate her because she's a bit of a criminal. She tried to kill Sam. You know, she's a bit of a psychopath, but they want us to feel sorry for her again.
Did it work for you?
To be honest, in the previous season, I felt sorry for her, that she had no father around. Her mum was sick and dying, and she had to work to look after her mum. But it didn't justify why she was such a psychopath.
No.
So in this season, they try and make us feel bad for her losing jobs and losing her temper and doing things that, you know, like you should feel sorry for her. And then even eventually Daniel's wife, like helping her out or trying to help her out. And I don't know. I felt that, again, that was the tipping. They've set that up for her to become a good person. Miguel, I don't think features in this season as much as previous ones.
No.
What's his kind of role in this season?
Going out with Daniel's son's daughter and basically accepting that Johnny is going out with his mother and getting lessons from Daniel. That's kind of it.
Yeah, so he kind of on a weird path, you know, like he's learning to fight from Daniel, but ultimately he sees Johnny as a father figure. So he himself is learning the both sides of karate, which is cool. So they set that up. He, you know, he's got this love interest with Sam, but ultimately feels for this other girl and is jealous when she goes on a date with someone else. They have a weird fight scene at prom.
Yeah.
You know, like he goes between is he likable, is he not likable? I lead towards liking him, but he does some weird stuff. Yeah, it's interesting. I think the season focuses heavily on Hawk. I think Hawk gets a big storyline in this, but then again, he's a guy that's had his allegiance to so many different dojos and gone from being a nerdy guy to being the biggest asshole on the show to now we're trying to redeem him and him become likable. How do you feel about him as a character?
I don't know. I think it's the problem that kind of the show has is that the writers like to kind of keep swapping their characters. They can't just stay consistent. Like, he's a fine character, but I guess they're trying to do the human being thing, that as human beings we do develop and change as a human, but it's so inconsistent.
There's obviously lots of things I want to talk about that will fall into a spoiler section.
Well, it's quite hard to, I think, give a score because the show keeps talking about balance and things like that. But I feel like the writers don't really preach what they sell, because this is a very unbalanced season. At the beginning and end, it's the most powerful and the best parts of the series. But from episode, I think, 4 or 5 to episode 8, it is the worst TV of Cobra Kai, I think, in history. So it's very unbalanced. We get this, like what Luke said, going to prom and then getting this random fight, having sprinklers and just pointless things that didn't need to be on the show. I was thinking to myself, really, that the main arc was really good, but we got so many side stories. It's like it's ridiculous. So when the show is consistent with them actually trying to get, and the 2 last episodes are so amazing, I think I'm gonna have to go with 3. It's the lowest score out of all the seasons, but I think unfortunately it's season 1 was going up, and I think unfortunately it's the most inconsistent one out of all of them.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards around the same. I think I still love the series, and I'm still excited about season 5.
Of course, yeah.
But this was the
very unbalanced.
It was the worst season out of the 4 so far. Not to say it was bad, it just wasn't up to the same standard. It set up for so many things we expected. We had so many flips of the script of where characters are going to go and where they finish. Ultimately, it's set up for, I guess, an epic 5th season, but I think it's stupid. I think what they've set up is moving away from what the show is, and which is karate, to moving into something a bit different, which we'll talk about in the spoilers. But for that, I still want to give it a 3.5, because for me, 3.5 is above average, and I think it was above average. I've seen a lot worse shows than that, but it didn't excel like the other season, so I'm going with a 3.5. Let's move into some spoilers. Should we discuss the ending and how it's set up for the next season?
Yeah, it's very confusing. It doesn't set up like Daniel's like from the person that he fought in Karate Kid 2. He's like, oh, are you going to help me be more aggressive? It's like, what is Daniel planning to do? Like, there's no tournament arc set up. It was very confusing. Why is he planning to teach his students and then go to the dope? Like, I was very confused about that ending.
Yeah, so to clarify, the show ends with ultimately, so the new character they bring in to help with the dojo, he starts off being a good guy that follows by the rules to ultimately being a cheat and a criminal and bashing up Stingray, who returns. And then Stingray awakens from this coma, and he's been told to say that Kreese did it, even though he didn't. and then he ultimately gets arrested. So the season is setting up for this, but with Kreese in the last episode, we're starting to feel for him. He's like changed his mind. He didn't want to cheat. He wanted the players to play by the rules. So we've now flipped it so that he is now going to be a good guy trying to redeem himself. But just as he becomes a good guy, he gets put in prison.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing with each season's being more about, Johnny versus Daniel and Johnny versus Kreese. Two characters, like kids wanting to fight, to now it's, they're someone in prison and trying to help him get out. And then we're left with probably the most evil villain of all, only because of what they've made him do. I don't think he is the main villain of Cobra Kai. I think Kreese is. But they've flipped that. So he's now this wealthy guy that's going to franchise Cobra Kai, put their dojos everywhere, and supposedly Daniel and Johnny have to close up shop on their dojos because of the rule they came up with. That if they lose, the losers are gone, the winner stays. So it's an interesting setup for the last season. I think it could have went differently, but yeah. What do you think about the actual tournament? You said to me off camera you reckon that was the two best episodes of the series. Do you think they did the right thing with the tournament, with changing the point structure? Were you happy with the ending? You happy with who fought in the finals?
Oh, I wasn't expecting Hawk to win the male grand final. I guess they changed the script on that one because you were expecting Miguel and Johnny's son to be in the final, but Miguel got injured, and then he's like, he didn't want to fight, and then he basically, his journey arc is, I've got to go and find my father. So that's where Johnny's going to be for next season. What I personally find is silly. You've made the semi-final, wouldn't you at least try and attempt to make the grand final?
Yeah, it is a strange one that Miguel, how he bails, because he ultimately, he gets injured. Like you think that his back's fully out and that's it, and he's going to need surgery, but it wasn't. They over-dramatized it.
Yeah.
And he was fine to return. I felt that he wasn't going to return, but I didn't think it was going to be for those reasons. I think he was just going to go, you know what, it's not worth it. I don't want to injure myself and then pull out. But to be like, nah, I'm bailing. I'm disappointed everyone. I'm going to go look for my father. I don't believe it or buy it. But yeah, Hawk to win, he was a character that was the nerdiest of them all and suddenly became a great fighter. We don't know. We don't know the level that he put in, but he's a character that really makes you go up and down whether you hate him or love him. But he does have, a soft side to him, and he is likable. I do really like his best friend, though. I think he's a character. He can be a bit frustrating, but he's not one that you hate, though. He's always does the right things and follows the rules. So with the tournament, I thought it was very strange that they changed it from as like a combined points thing between the males and females, because previously females fought against males, which I thought was really dumb. That didn't add up to me. But now it's a separate divisions, which I think is completely fair, and they needed that for the show because they wanted like a female versus female finale fight. But then to add that they were doing points based on techniques and using nunchucks and weapons and stuff that was never previously in the show that they had to then add. And then, of course, Cobra Kai comes out on top, but through cheating. Yeah. And then you would assume that Kreese is at the hands of that, but it's not. It's the other sensei. So it's kind of... And then they set up that, the female who wins, she realizes that there was cheating involved, and then she feels bad about it. So I guess that's them setting up for the next season of her becoming a good person. But where do you see it going?
The problem I have with the show is that they constantly change teams, but I guess it's a good thing because it's like, we get to see different people in different teams, but it's just, you don't know what's going on, and it makes the ending hard. Like, I don't know, it gets frustrating sometimes each season. You just like the person to be consistent, but like I said in life, we change daily.
Do you think that it's set up that eventually all the characters that have been swapping and changing that we kind of love and kind of hate will ultimately team up and fight maybe a new set of villains? Or I feel like the Asian character that's the rich guy that was the bully to Miguel, and that character will probably continue to remain a villain, but the thing is he's not good enough at fighting to be able to take on the others.
Yeah.
But I feel the show wants us to want Miguel to be a good guy. We want Johnny's son to finally reunite with his dad and become friends, and him to be the best fighter of them all. You know, he's got it in his blood. You know, we want Sam to be a good fighter, but ultimately not need to be like she's, you know, like a female from a good family. She's smart, you know, she shouldn't need to have to fight. And like she should have that balance from her dad that she's been taught. And I guess to chuck in the younger son just for the sake of it, but I don't really care about him. I think he was a brat throughout the season and throughout the series, and then now even more of a bully.
Mm.
So what's your predictions for the next... Yeah.
I guess for season 5, we'll maybe get 1 or 2 episodes in Kreese in prison, maybe seeing how he goes in prison. Don't know how long that can last, and then maybe it'll be like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and he'll help Johnny and Daniel take down the other sensei, but they'll be like four against one.
I'm thinking that's where it's going to go. He's going to get out, they're going to team up, all the kids are going to come friends, and they will fight a new set of villains.
Yeah.
Like, I think that the sensei will expand Cobra Kai, and he will recruit more people than before, and that will invite new villains that we don't need to know their backstory for. They just purely have joined there.
Mm.
But then where does it end? How do they expand it? Well, like, ultimately, what is the end of this show? Like, everyone becomes a good guy? Like, it's not realistic.
No. Would you like them to kind of not, because it feels like the problem with Cobra Kai is that they're trying to make it go as long as they can instead of making a satisfying ending, kind of milking it a little bit. Do you personally feel like, because season 1, 2 and 3 were great, it just feels like they're milking it a little bit because I don't know.
I don't know. I guess I don't know where they're planning to stop, but I feel like it's soon. You know, I think they've set up, we got the first season was perfect. Johnny realizing he's a good guy, flipping the switch, you know, the script. The second season is, you know, they're teaming up against Kreese somewhat. The fourth season is still, you know, they generally team up against Kreese, but in the second season they both dislike Kreese. But then they team up in the third, kind of, as well still. And then the fourth, Kreese brings on friends, and then they come up against him. And then now, I think whether this is going to be the last season, I'm not sure, but it's kind of everyone against the new sensei, and whether that continues, because even we're left with Daniel rekindling with the enemy of his in the second Karate Kid film, who we already seen in a previous season, but he's now in America and he's going to help them learn some more karate secrets. So it's I don't know how much further it can go. Like, I don't know if there's any more characters from the movies that I can't think of that could come back.
Well, from an article I read, the writer thinks he has season 5 and 6 at least, so I guess 2 more seasons.
I think that's fine. I think 5 would be enough. 6 is okay. Anything beyond that, you're really pushing it. The characters would have aged out by that time, and then do we follow them to college? I would like to see how good they are in karate. Like, they're winning their local tournaments, but in compared to the country and the world, like, how do they compete? That would be cool to see. Like, put it on a bigger scale. Like, maybe focus less on the drama and maybe more on the karate for a season, and then go to, I don't know, another country or something. No.
So do you kind of agree with me that the beginning was a great part when we actually got to see the different philosophies and kind of see the students train with the different masters or sensei, and then when they left that, it was disappointing because the show kind of abandoned what it set up, and then we've got this teen drama, Daniel's daughter getting upset all the time, and then she just wanted to fight her enemy, and then it just got lost and out of control, and then by episode 9 and 10 it was epic again.
It was, no, I agree with that. It had a very stale middle section compared to the bookmarking it had for the start and end. The writers are trying to set up something there, I think, but
do you think it's writer fatigue? Because it's like eventually there just has to be a not as good season compared to other seasons.
I don't know if it's writer fatigue. I just think they had this idea of bringing in characters for nostalgia, and the only way they felt they could do it was with a really far-fetched storyline. But I guess without that, how many seasons could we see Johnny and Daniel hate each other? I think we really wanted to see them like each other this season, and it took away from that pretty quickly. Like, they became somewhat enemies even when they worked together, that they saw that they had to teach their students separately. They would swap over and teach them their own styles, where they just couldn't see that they needed one without the other.
And do you think with season 5 we'll finally see them actually work together and not bicker anymore?
I think that's the ultimate message, that you need both sides. It just infuriates you when you hear Daniel say, like,
I'm always right.
Yeah, and he's like, I need to teach them to defend themselves. It's not about striking. It's like, you're entering a karate tournament where you get points for hitting the other person. You must hit them. It is not an option. You can't defend and win. It's impossible. But he seems to think that defending is the style. But it's like, you're not asking people to go out and bash up other people. You're asking them in a controlled setting to fight in order to win points. That's fine. And where Johnny seems to adapt both sides, he acknowledges that defense is important, but he wants the mentality of striking first and striking hard. But Daniel just must always be right. He actually is a frustrating character, how right he thinks he must be.
Do you think that's why it kind of didn't work? It was Johnny at the start, and then Daniel just thought, my philosophy is more important. You're teaching my daughter this, and then it's like, oh, you're teaching my student, and it's like, oh, they're mine.
Yeah, well, you could even see his own daughter was sick of him and wanted to learn other ways of karate. She realised in order to get better, she needs to learn both. I think it's really silly, the techniques it shows with Johnny. Like, I don't see what being able to jump from one roof to the other had anything to do with karate.
Yeah.
There was like a pinnacle in the season. So his techniques, they add him just for a bit of laugh, because that never actually shows him teaching them how to fight. He just shows them how to run through cement and turn barrels and run over glass and irrelevant stuff to karate.
Did you find it funny when we got this whole arc when Johnny's like, oh, this doesn't suit us. We have added a category of we need a girl on our team.
Yeah.
I can do it. And then he doesn't do a good job of getting a girl. Yeah,
that was the funny part of the season, though, him recruiting a girl. And then even when he found one and all the random gibberish he said, and he's like, I didn't understand any of that. Yeah. But he convinced her, but then she ultimately went to Cobra Kai. I don't want to badmouth the season. It just had some interesting parts. I think they were trying to tick too many boxes and please too many people. Where ultimately we wanted to see Kreese be the bad guy, and even his other sensei to be an equal partner as a bad guy. And now they've flipped it where we're meant to think he's a good guy. So everyone's a good guy now, apparently. We're meant to like everyone.
That's not possible, though.
No, there's got to be villains, and I think that's what makes it good. They're trying to make, it's kind of the frustrating part of it, going, I want him to be a good guy, but he's a bad... It's the whole idea of the show, that Johnny was perceived as a bad guy, but he's the one you cheer for. If I had to choose between Johnny and Daniel, I would side with Johnny. But that's the reverse of what the movies wanted. So they try to carry that on with the show by going, Miguel's the hero, but he's part of Cobra Kai, and Sam's part of Miyagi-Do, but she's actually a bit of a bitch, and she bullies people, and like that's what they want you to believe, that what you think is good is actually bad. But then now they've kind of moved it where everyone's swapped and changed it. Like, I don't even know who the good guy is and who the bad guy is anymore.
Who is the good guys or bad guys?
I feel like everyone except for the new sensei is a good guy. Like, even Kreese is supposedly a good guy now because he did one good thing. So.
And do you find it hilarious how throughout the show, like, Kreese has been, like, you know, the students went to Daniel's son's house and, like, basically bashed up and caused havoc, and the mother's fine with that, and then when Kreese tries and does a good thing, he gets arrested for it. Like, now the police get involved?
Yeah, they didn't want anything to do with when people were getting bashed and breaking into houses. Yeah, I think that's really far-fetched. You know, that wouldn't happen in real life. But I guess that's what makes it exciting and an interesting show. So you can't pull all that apart.
No.
But yeah, they conveniently get involved now. I guess Stingray really didn't have another purpose for being in the season except for that. So they've added him, and he supposedly served time in house arrest for his involvement in the fight at the school. But yeah, he's an interesting character. I think ultimately he will come clean and tell the truth pretty early on, because he is a good guy. You know, so I think we'll get the truth pretty early on in the season.
So, final predictions for you for season 5?
I think lots more Cobra Kais will pop up around the valley. They'll get new, tougher students, but all the other senseis will team up together and create a super team that will take them on. I think Sam will ultimately be the hero of the females and the best fighter, and Johnny's son will be the champion of the boys, even more so than Miguel. Yeah.
And would you like season 5 to be the last season, or?
I think that it could be if they do it right, but I think we're pretty certain there's going to be 6. What are your predictions?
Yeah, I guess we all like team ups, so I guess something like that, yeah. Well, thank you for helping, Luke. Hope you enjoyed the review. Let us know your thoughts and score, and did you like this season compared to the other seasons? Let the force be with you. Bye-bye.